Okay, I think we can start now. So we'll be discussing today about database services. So what is this database? I think you all are able to hear me now, right? So let me start. So in database, Amazon has so many different types of services are there. Like we have relational database service, we have non-relational database service, we have so many different types of database services are there which Amazon provides. So let us go with fundamentals of the database. Okay. So if we start with the fundamentals of the database, how many people know what is the difference between the database and storage? Any idea? You need to speak up. What is the difference between a database and a storage?
Database is where we can search immediately. Where we can save all informations and we can find out immediately with some options.
Okay.
It's a feature.
Database
Storage is a,
stores data organically in tables, whereas in storage you can directly save as files or block of data.
Mhm.
And
More
read and
answers.
write operation is faster in database as compared to storage.
Okay.
storage is nothing but the place where everything is stored.
Very good. That is very good answer. Storage is a place where you store the data. Okay. But what is the database? What is that something different
Data,
in
Database
database?
is
yeah,
based on the table, and it is a storage of only the data which is stored in the table or for table or format. And it is also database consists of two type of data. One is structured data, and another one is non-structured data.
Basically, it is a structure of a particular table or the table or views or indexes we are preparing. It is a
it's a
semi-structured,
organized
yeah, organized.
Can say data arranged in specific order.
data. Data is organized.
Very good. Okay, let me. Everyone has answered very, somewhat nearby, and almost maximum people are correct. But let me explain you in detail the difference between database and data. Then we'll discuss about our college days. Then we will see, what we learned in our college and how we started. Okay. So, if you're looking for database, right? So database is nothing but an organized collection of data, so which can be easily accessed and managed. You can organize the data into tables, rows, columns, and index it to make easier and get the information. So the main purpose of database is to operate a large amount of data, means basically to store and retrieve and manage it. So like, in the world, there are so many different websites are there. So many different types of applications are there. So whenever you want to store this data in an organized way and retrieve the data also in an organized way, we need something called as a database system, right? There are so many storages are there. Storage is just a place where you store the data. But whenever you want to retrieve it, there should be a process, there should be a technology to store the data and retrieve in an organized way. That's the reason database is considered as or called as organized collection of data, which can be easily accessed and managed. And the data gets stored in a format of tables, rows, columns, and indexes, depends upon the varieties the database has been created. So this database in general, I think you all people might have heard in your college days, DBMS. So many people might have learnt in your graduations or engineering, something called as database management system. And then this DBMS further classified into RDBMS, relational database management system, right? Then non-relational database management system. Like this different things has been come up. To be honest, when I was studying in my college, I was not aware what is RDBMS, DBMS at all. That time it never used to go in my head. It was completely new. So DBMS, we might have heard so many times in our college, like, DBMS, we used to get the exam for the DBMS, RDBMS, we used to write it, right? So what is this database management system? Okay, so it's nothing but a software which is used to store and retrieve the database. Now, this DBMS, they further classified, like into relational database management system, non-relational database management system. Then they also came up with the different types of databases, like graph database came up into the market, which also became successful. So like this, there are different types of databases came into the picture. But the end goal is that database is nothing but it's a, it's a place to store or organize the collection of data, and in a in a in a proper method of storing and retrieving with the help of your tables or rows or columns or indexes, right? So where complete the database management system is controlled. So like that, database has been started in earlier, very long back. If you consider, it's 1960s. So the database started in very early 1960s. Then it became popular in relational database in 1980s. Then object-oriented databases 1990s. Then NoSQL databases come in the 2000. Like this, different databases came. So just to have a quick review of these different types of databases. First, with relational databases, which became popular and it's a flexible way to access. And then object-oriented databases, which consists of certain kind of programming. Then the distributed databases came into the market, where two or more files will be located in different sites and where you'll be managing it. That also became popular. Then after that, you might have heard about data warehousing technology, which again, a component of the database only, which is used to design for the fast query and analysis. Basically, it's a central repository of data for the data warehouse, we say. So that also came into the market and which became very popular. Then again, we have NoSQL databases came into the market, non-relational database, which again became popular, which is unstructured and semi-structured databases. Then we got graph databases stored, which is nothing but which creates the graphs, which provides the graphs for the end users for the operations purpose, where it optimizes the graph analysis. That also became popular in the market. Then OLTP came into the market, OLTP databases, which are analytical database. Basically, we say transactional processing for the transaction purpose. That also became popular in the market. Then there are so many other kind of databases, like open source databases came into the market, cloud databases came into the market, multi-model database came to the market, document JSON databases came into the market. Like this, different types of database came into the market. But end of the day, all the database work is same thing: storing and retrieving the data in an organized way. We call it as database. Simple and easy to understand. Storing and retrieving the data in an organized way, we call it as database. And database are different types are there: relational database, non-relational database, distributed database, data warehouses, NoSQL. So if somebody who want to become the master only in database, means if you are planning for data side, if you want to be a master in data side, it's again one big separate ocean altogether. If you are thinking to become a super expert in database, then you need to only concentrate on data analytics. So in AWS, we have a special course for that, that is called as Big Data and Hadoop Specialty, which only talks about the databases, which only talks about the data warehouses, which only talks about the Hadoop. Okay, so like this, we have different types of databases are there. So all these are the different types of databases. Now coming to the question, what is this relational database and where it is useful, and RDBMS, relational database management system, which we say. And what are the different types of RDBMSs are there? So this you need to understand. So basically, this relational database is a model proposed by E.F. Codd in 1970s. He's a scientist who was working in IBM, who has developed this solution called as relational database model. So the basic SQL, which we say structured query language, right? Or any kind of a structured way of languages, which has been like where the data stores in the rows, columns, and other things. So this guy was the implementer, or you can say creator. In very early 1970s, the relational model came into the picture. Then SQL came into the market in 2000s, and it became very successful. You all people know. Then there are always so many competitors came into the model. So relational database, when you say there are so many relational database models are there, I mean databases are there. I think you all people know. You might have heard about SQL, MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, and like this we have different Windows. We have Microsoft SQL Server is there. These all are nothing but these all are the relational databases. This all comes under RDBMS, relational database management system, which is underlying there is a relational is there. What do you mean by relational? Relation is nothing but, let's assume employee is there. Suppose let's assume Samir is working in a company called as an IBM. Just take an example. If Samir is working in a company called IBM, there might be so many Samirs, right? So how can I distinguish between Samir? Like either Samir should have an employee ID, which should be unique, or Samir's payslip, which is generated with the unique identification, or Samir's other aspects like address or other things, right? So where I can generate the report and where I can get the information. So relational database is nothing but it's a declarative method where every object on the database will have a relation. That's the reason we call this solution as a schema, means schema based solution. Relational database is called as schema based solution. So where there is a structure, means every object has the relation for their applications or for their any kind of a data, or therefore any kind of an object. There is a schema, there is a structure is there. When there is a structure, all your rows, columns, objects, functions, types, and indexes, procedures, everything will work because everything has a structure is there, right? So let's take one more example. Now let's take a simple solution called as cleartrip.com, right? So a Cleartrip person want to see when this so and so XYZ, or else they want to know this PNR, how many people traveled, right? So the moment if they enter the PNR details, the PNR will generate the report. What is the name of that passenger who has traveled, when he traveled, what time he traveled, what was the price of that ticket, what was the flight number, everything that information will be generated, right, with a single, because it has a schema integrated to the database, right? So this kind of a structure, we call it as schema based structure, otherwise we call relational database model. So we also in the market, we have something called as non-relational database management system, RDMS, or NoSQL we say. So what is the major difference between the relational database system and non-relational database system is NoSQL, otherwise called as non-relational database. Basically thing is that there also the data will be stored, but an unstructured format, means there is no defined structure when it comes to NoSQL. database. So when I say RDBMS, the applications of the data which gets stored, it's stored in a format of a structured manner. And when it comes to non-relational database, it stores in a non-structured or unstructured manner. The other example, we can say the number of users, right? RDBMS supports multiple users. Non-relational database also supports multiple users. And RDBMS basically uses to store the data in the rows and columns method, whereas it is semi-structured. It follows the method of documents mostly when it comes to NoSQL database. And other than that, so it supports the normalization method for joining the tables, and your NoSQL doesn't support any kind of a normalization method. And it is supported with open source applications, relational database. And also, as I told you, relational database is very old model. It's a flat file storage, we can say. It's a very old model which started in 1970s. But non-relational model has been recently came in 2000s. They have started. So the limitations are there. And both support distributed databases. And as I told you, so relational database is supported for the larger quantity of data, very high quantity of data. And non-relational databases are morely used for the web, real-time web data, basically big data and other things. For those purposes, your NoSQL databases are coming into the market. And your relational database supports basically client-server architecture, and NoSQL database supports multi-server support architecture. And other than that is that it is highly software that supports all kinds of hardware and other things when it comes to your relational database. And the basic examples, if you ask me, as I said, data fetching is easy and flexible when it comes to non-relational database. And relational database approach depends upon what kind of a database you use. As I told you, relational database examples are MySQL, you can take Oracle, you can take SQL Server, you can take MariaDB, you can take, or SQL Server, you can take. All these are the examples of your relational databases. When it comes to non-relational databases, you can take Apache, you can take Apache Cassandra, you can take, or you can take MongoDB as a non-relational database. You can take CouchDB, you can take as an example, and IBM Dominoes, which is old non-relational database we have, right? So like this, there are differences, different types of things are there. But overall, to understand the difference majorly is that, as I told you, one is structured database and another one is unstructured database. Now you will get a doubt, sir, is it SQL better or NoSQL better? It all depends on developer's choice of the application what he is preparing. NoSQL is very good for the real-time analysis, real-time structure, and real-time applications or web-based applications and other things. And if you want a standard, and if you want to have a speed and agile process, and SQL is better. So some applications might require SQL database also, some application might require non-SQL also. So depends on application to application. Your application developer and your database developer or database administrator and a database architect along with the solution architect will decide what database they need to choose. Now you will ask me, sir, I am not from a database background, how will I know? So as I told you, it is you, if you are not from the database background, you generally no need to worry about what database I should use. Only the developer, the person who develops the application, he will be aware on what database will be used for his application. Let's take Flipkart is there, right? So Flipkart is nothing but it's a e-commerce website, right? So e-commerce website requires, right, e-commerce website requires the database. So now depends on depends on e-commerce website what kind of features he is providing. Based on that, they might use MySQL database also, they might use NoSQL database also. So again, it depends upon the choice between the application developer, what kind of an application he is using. Is he using only Java based application, or is he using PHP based application for the database? So how he is going to integrate, all depends upon the application developer and application owner, and also the solution architect. Basically, to make it very easy and understandable, relational database, non-relational database, two types of databases. Relational database example we call, as I said, you relational database example, very simple: SQL Server, Oracle Server, or SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, or MySQL, or you can say PostgreSQL, or you can say MariaDB. These all things will come under relational database. Unstructured non-relational database, which we have something called as MongoDB, Apache Cassandra, CouchDB. All these things will come under non-relational database. Now you will have a doubt, sir, is this Amazon is going to provide these databases for us, or do I need to install in my Windows or a Linux server these databases? So Amazon is very, very, very means, it made the life easier for the database developers and admins, that they really no need to worry for what database they need. Every type of a database is available ready-made in Amazon as database as a service. So when I say database as a service, so what does it mean? So Amazon, what it did is that Amazon, if you go with relational database, Amazon is providing you by default PostgreSQL, MySQL, MariaDB, Oracle, SQL Server. Everything is available by default. Amazon is giving you as the databases. Okay. Now, if you say that, sir, I want to use MySQL, most welcome. Go quickly log into database as service, launch, and you can install. You want to use Oracle, launch, you can install. You want to use MySQL Server, launch, install. It means everything ready-made Amazon is providing you as a use case. Now, you will ask me a question, sir, does Amazon has its own database which we can use? Yes, this might be an interview question. So for the relational database, Amazon is providing a database called as Aurora. The name of the database which Amazon provides its own database called as Aurora. It's not Agora. Okay. It's Aurora. Why I'm telling? I asked one interview question for one of the person. I said, what is the database Amazon use? He said something Agora. So listen carefully. It is Aurora. Okay. Amazon Aurora. It is a database which Amazon's own product, that is for your relational database. So Amazon Aurora is there, PostgreSQL is there, MySQL is there, MariaDB is there, Oracle is there, and SQL Server. All these are the different types of databases are there, where you can use database as a service. When I said database as service means what? You can use directly, go to the Amazon database, just click on next, create database, next, finish. It will provide you the ready-made database as a service. Now you say that, sir, I don't want to go as a database as service, but what I need is that I want to use I want to install my database because I have my own license and everything. So can I have the database? Means that is different. All right. So then you need to install everything by yourself. Okay. Which means that you need to have an EC2 server, you need to have other things, right? All those things you need to install without any fail, means you need to manually install. Okay. So that is how it will work. So either you are getting a ready-made option, okay, or you're going as a ready-made, means if you're not interested in ready-made option, let us say that you have your own licenses and everything, then we need to go with this solution called as, launch with EC2 and install it. So you have both the options based on your requirement. So database, as I told you, database, this is the option which you get. So if you see my screen, so there are three options: self-managed, EC2 managed, and fully managed. In the self-managed is nothing but if you are installing at your own on-premises, means at your office or at your data center. So you should install the hardware, you should install the OS, you should install the security, you should take care of the security updates, backups, replication, everything end to end is your own responsibility. But when you go with EC2 instance, which is nothing but instance level, then Amazon is providing you everything, right? Where updates, patches, replication, backups, everything is Amazon's responsibility. So depends on how you want to take it. When you go with fully managed, Amazon is going everything. Amazon is giving you fully managed as a service. So it depends upon how you want to manage. Now AWS database options. So as I told you, if you go with your on-premises, you need to take care of optimization, scaling, high availability, data software patches, install OS patches, everything. But if I'm going with database as a service, not as an EC2, fully DBS service, everything will be taken care by AWS, means your scaling, your high availability, your backups, your softwares, your software installations, OS installation, maintenance, rack and stack, power, everything will be managed by your database as service, means Amazon is managing. What is that you're taking care? You're just optimizing it, right? So all these are the advantages what you are getting, right? So these all are the advantages what you are getting. Now, as I told you, self-managed and AWS managed. So what is the difference between self-managed and AWS managed? So when you manage your own database, you will be responsibility for the upgrade, and you will be responsible for the security. You will be responsible for the parameters of the database and everything you need to take care. Okay. But when you go with AWS managed databases, so the complete database upgrades, backups, failovers, automatic backups, which Amazon takes care, and version upgrades, you can upgrade. So which automatically Amazon is providing you, like bug fixes, security enhancements, everything Amazon will take care, right? So these all are the advantages what you get when it comes to AWS database. Only thing is that you need to make sure that you are taking care of the security and other things and all. So Amazon also provides the auto minor version upgrades, which Amazon is providing for all the users, means all the customers. So any to major to minor version, everything will be managed by AWS only. So that is the advantage which you're getting as a database. Okay. And you might also get a doubt, what does Amazon RDS or relational database manage, means what does it do from behalf of us, right? Once your database is up and running, RDS automates the common administrative tasks, like your backups will be automated with your RDS, patching softwares, multiple availability zones, deploying, automatic failover, everything is done by Amazon. So you no need to worry about it. Basically, it will create an AMI and you can start. You can also use hybrid environment, like combination of on-premises and all. That's also possible. So that is what you get as an advantage. So as I told you, Amazon provides different types of databases. So in the AWS databases, so document DB, otherwise we call it as DynamoDB, right? You need to understand what all database services are there in the AWS. Amazon provides you so many database services, but all database services are different database services are there. So you need to understand where these database services and how does it uses. So in databases, now I have showed you only 4 here. These are the majorly used, but there are so many are there. So let me explain you. One is Amazon Aurora, which is Amazon's relational database. And Amazon has a database called as DynamoDB, which is NoSQL database. Otherwise, so database are of 2 types, which I already told you. One is structured and one is unstructured. Structured is nothing but relational database. Unstructured is nothing but non-relational database. In structured database, Aurora will come into the picture. In non-structured database, DynamoDB will come to the picture. Amazon has something called as DocumentDB, which is compatible with your MongoDB. That's also one thing is there. And it also has Elastic Cache, which is again in-memory caching database. And Amazon has for Apache Cassandra, like there is one database, Apache Cassandra, there is a service called as Keyspaces, which is again compatible with Apache Cassandra. Amazon is providing you. For the graph database, means people who are working on most of the graphs and all, Amazon is giving a database called as Neptune. Then there is one more database called as Quantum Ledger Database, QLDB we say, that is basically for the ledger databases. And Amazon has RDS, Relational Database Service. And Amazon also providing RDS on VMware for the on-premises database management, where in your on-premises you can use. For the data warehousing, Amazon is providing you data warehouse. And for the series time database, Amazon is having TimeStream. And for the migration purpose, Amazon is providing you database migration service. And there is one more database called as Glue, which is used for serverless data integration. There are so many databases are there in AWS. For you, for the people who are mostly working as a database administrators or database architects, so they need to concentrate only on relational databases. People who are into development background, then they can think about Neptunes, they can think about data warehousing and other things. But as a focus for you should be relational database only, because in the solution architect, we'll be morely focused on relational database and non-relational database. So as I told you, which one is the best tool to pick up, right? So as I told, how will I know which one is to good, good tool? As I mentioned before, it all depends on your developer's requirement, application requirement, architect requirement. So to decide which database they need to go for it, it can be a relational database or it can be a non-relational database. So NoSQL database. So as I told you, the examples are MongoDB, Apache Cassandra, CouchDB. These all are the NoSQL database, which is there in the market. And fully managed, single digit millisecond latency, massive and seamless scalable option you're getting. And the second thing is that DynamoDB is key value store. So as I told you, this is DynamoDB is nothing but which is a non-relational database which supports SSD in the background, solid state drives as a storage. Supports millions of IOPS is being supported. Where do I use this non-relational database? Popular use cases, right? So you can see that DynamoDB, which Amazon is providing, all your advertisement firms, IoT solutions like your Alexa or your IoT devices, where it works with the metadata and tracking, there you're using, right? And you're using in the gaming, right? And you're using in a, mobile and web-based applications. So different place we use because it's basically NoSQL database. So by default, Amazon provides you 25 GB of storage free for this no relational database. We call key value database otherwise. It supports 10 trillion requests per day and peaks up to 20 million requests per second. There is no servers to manage everything. Amazon is managing, and it is very good for the mobile backends. So if any kind of a mobile applications which works on the backends, there you can use it. So as mentioned, advertisement tech, advertisement firms, gaming companies, like wherever the gaming companies are there, where they want to use the low latency databases, there they can go with this. And common use cases for the banking and banking finance and retail, they also use like all kind of an application like shopping carts, workflow engines, inventory tracking. They use this. And also some companies which manage fraud detection and user transaction, and also media and entertainment industry also uses very much in this this kind of non-relational database. If you ask me any companies which are using this non-relational database in the market, the major companies, Nike, I think you all people know Nike is one of the shoe brand which uses this. Samsung uses non-relational database. Netflix uses non-relational database. Capital One uses non-relational database. Fanfight uses non-relational database. Like this, there are so many companies are there who uses this non-relational databases. Now, this non-relational database supports the automatic replication where the data gets replicated across multiple location, where multiple availability zones your data can be replicated, and wherever you want like multiple availability zones are there, you want data replication, that is possible. As I told, it's a schema-less database. There is no schema. So every data, whatever putting, it puts in write and read capacities. So you need to understand. So whenever you're writing any data, so the capacity units are nothing but the calculated as read and write unit. So whenever you're reading any data from the non-relational database, it understands as 4 KB for one capacity unit, and one write unit is calculated as 1 KB. And second thing, as I told you, very simple app architecture you can consider. So any applications who are connecting, they'll be connecting via load balancers or DNS, then the EC2 instances. At the final, in the backend, complete in the back, at the corner, there you will have your databases will be there. So you can always refer the databases in the last. And how does it builds? So I think you all people know in EC2 how you are been billing. In EC2, you might have learned about spot, reserved, and other type of instances, right? Here you need to understand the billing is very simple. The storage what you consume plus read units plus write units is equal to your monthly bill. The monthly amount of the bill what you are going to consume means what you're going to use. So by default, 25 GB storage is free, as I told you. Read units and write units, these are the different companies who are using this non-relational database. This is the usage of your non-relational database. DynamoDB is one of the example. The same way Amazon is providing you relational database. So you might ask me, where does this relational database uses? Every application. You go to Facebook, you go to ClearTrip, you go to anything. The initial account creation, everything requires a relational database. So AWS relational database is one of the database which provides you cloud-based relational database like SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, and other databases are provided. So very simple and fast to scale and low cost, pay for what you use. Easy to administer, highly scalable, availability and durable is there. Durability is there. It's very fast and inexpensive. It is not so expensive also. And use cases for all the e-commerce sites, and you can use for all the gaming, and you can use for your applications, you can use for your websites, like this different places you can use this. And as I told you, Unilever, Netflix, Intuit are different companies who are using this relational databases. If you see the comparative matrix, like what is the comparison between your relational database and non-relational database? Relational database, as I told, they use VPC everywhere. Like VPC is nothing but networking. I think you all people know Aurora, MySQL, PostgreSQL, everything uses VPC. High availability is provided, scaling is provided, encryption is there, and there is a feature called as read replicas. What is this read replicas in AWS RDS, right? So RDS read replicas is nothing but which will enable you to create one more read-only copy. So one more copy will be available to create in AWS region or in a different AWS region. So this read replica is nothing but a solution where many heavy workloads and other things, this read replicas will be created and will be used. So whenever there is any kind of a outage or if there is any problem, you can use this read replica. So this read replicas are available in MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL. So anytime at the event of your actual database gets failed, that time you can use this replica. Replica is nothing but a second copy which will be available. So this second copy you can create and wherever you need. It is not synchronous, it is asynchronous, means it is not live. So it is asynchronous, so which gets copied or which gets created in the other location. This read replicas can be promoted to become a standalone database instance when needed. So that is the advantage what you get. So Amazon in RDS, they are providing you this as a feature. So whether you use MariaDB, MySQL, or any kind of a SQL, you have this read replica option, which Amazon provides you. And
SQL, it is not there. The right click is not there for SQL, that read replicas and cross region.
SQL Server, it is not there. MySQL, it is there. Okay. That you can see when you log in and you can validate where it is there, where it is not there. That is up to the feature of that particular database. Then the cross-region replication is again nothing but creating the replica in a different location. So Amazon provides that in certain services. In MySQL you have, in Maria you have, and in Oracle they're giving as a feature called as Golden Gate. And you can also see the storage specifications. In Aurora they are giving you larger space. I can say that disk space, when it compared to your other database, it is providing you 64 TB as a thing. So basically Aurora is again is like MySQL and PostgreSQL when it compared to your commercial grade databases. But the thing is that if you compare the costing wise, Aurora is cheaper compared to MySQL and PostgreSQL, but it gives the performance better than 5 times better than MySQL. And now it also automatically scales. Now before it was 64 TB. Now per instance, Amazon Aurora, they're giving 128 TB per database instance, which is very high. And they provide in low latency read replicas, 15 low latency read replicas they're providing you. And it's very highly means high performance and scalability is there, highly secured and compatible with your SQL, MySQL and PostgreSQL. If you're planning to come compatibility, if you want to take it between SQL and PostgreSQL, it is fully managed. Migration support is there, and it works as SaaS as service. All these are the features what you get in Amazon Aurora. And next, as I told you, Amazon Aurora is its own Amazon's own database, which is which Amazon is providing you, and it supports with your CLI commands you can create and you can manage. So those all advantages are there. And it also supports provisioned IOPS. I think you all people know what is provisioned IOPS, which is nothing but faster speed when it comes to the accessibility and storing. And larger instance capacity is also there. R3.8 is the largest instance capacity which Amazon is providing in different models that you can check when you log in and you can validate. It is very simple and fast to scale. You can easily scale, you can easily increase based on your requirement. So you can select what database you need, what database version you need, everything you can easily select, and you can find out the storage also, whether you need general purpose, provisioned IOPS, magnetic, this which you learnt in your EC2, what is general purpose, what is provisioned IOPS and magnetic. Then high availability is there. It supports high availability, and it supports failover and synchronous replication. And as I told you, read replicas, it's nothing but at the event of failure, you can configure this so that it is available in different regions. And then you have cross-region replications are there. So you can see here cross-region replications and for the faster recovery and to bring the data close to the customers and promote the master at the time of migration. You have these options. And Amazon supports automated backups, and Amazon supports manual snapshots. So up to the retention period means automatically the backups will happen in the Amazon. So you don't need to do any kind of a manual backups, automated it is there. Snapshots, if you want, you can do manually. If you want to create for some XYZ purpose, you can do it. But automatic backups are there, and retention is also been defined. But compared to the pricing between your NoSQL database and the SQL database, there is a difference is there. When it comes to relational database, it calculates based on number of hours plus storage consumed. But when it comes to non-relational database, it is calculating based on read and write units. It is not calculating based on just on hours. But when it comes to relational database, the number of hours you used plus storage consumed, because relational database has a limitation. But when it comes to non-relational database, it is unstructured. It is as much as you want, you can use. So 750 micro DB instance hours is free if you want to test it. 20 GB of database storage and 20 GB of backups and 10 million IO operations are provided as free of cost for you people for the testing purpose. And these all are the different customers which they are using when it comes to the relational databases. And you can see, as I told you, Aurora. So very good and very famous software, which is Amazon's own product. So compatible with MySQL and PostgreSQL, as I told you already. And availability zones are provided, and you can also migrate. You have several options to migrate from MySQL, like export data option is there, import data option is there to export from MySQL to Amazon Aurora. And they are supporting for the database migrations. And Amazon also supports DBMS, database migration service, DMS we say, and it supports backend SSDs for the advantage what you get. And as I told you, 5 times better performance than your MySQL, which is which Aurora gives you. Scaling is an option you have. So as I told you, from minimum storage is 10 GB and maximum Aurora you can grow up to 128 TB. Before it was 64 TB. Now they're giving you 128 TB. Now you will get a doubt like, will there be any impact on the performance? There will no impact on any performance, because there is no need to provision storage in advance. You're not going to provision anything in advance. You can grow automatically. You can do the scaling automatically. And automatic backups are always available. So you don't need to do any kind of a backups. And other things is that you can take a snapshots and multiple availability zones. All these are the advantages what you get with your databases. So NoSQL versus SQL. So as I told you, depends upon your use case to use case. You can use, depends on your application, depends on your developer, depends on your project coordinator who is working on it. And you can encrypt your databases. All the databases are supported with the encryption facilities. So you don't need to worry about the databases encryption also. So all these are the advantages what you get. And also a number of replicas what you get in Amazon Aurora is one of the advantage you're getting. Up to 15 replicas you're getting, and you can have cross-region replications. You can create clusters, replica clusters, and you can prevent by promoting the databases whenever there's a problem. You can failover is automatically handled by Amazon Aurora, so you no need to worry. So all these are the different advantages what you get when it comes to database. And security also you can define, and serverless solution. And these all are the different features what you get in your AWS. So that is all about your relational database and non-relational database. Now leaving for the questions. Just give me a minute. Yes. Now you can ask any questions.
So Samir, for DBMS, so in AWS, we have Amazon's own database system, right? So is there anything that we need to integrate multiple databases, or we can do it in a instance in other we can communicate with them?
What is it? What is the question? What is the question?
My question was, do we get multiple DBM database system in Amazon, or it will be only one, which is the Amazon's
No.
own,
When you
and
go to
we
the
need to integrate other.
when you log into the RDS, you will get all the options. When you log into RDS, there you will get all the options. Different options are there.
Samir,
Samir,
one
will support a migration from one database to other database.
Migration to one database, yes, we have a separate service, DMS. So there is some limitations are there in DMS. When we discuss on the migration part, you'll understand about it.
Okay. Samir, is there a default or pre-configured backup system in the relational and non
Yes.
DynamoDB
In
and this one?
relational database, by default, automated backups. So we no need to do any manual backups.
Okay. For DynamoDB?
For the DynamoDB, in certain databases, there are automated. In certain, you need to.
And good morning, Samir. What's Redshift? Amazon Redshift?
That we have not yet discussed. So that is basically for data warehousing. So you need to understand the difference between normal. So there are two types of databases models, right? Relational database and non-relational database. Okay. So in general, when it comes to relational database and non-relational database, so relational database works with OLAP and I think right, online analytical processing, right? So data warehousing, it works with OLTP, transactional processing, right? So like this, certain processing technologies are there. So data warehousing is a solution which works with business intelligence. Like what is warehouse? So warehouse is nothing but where you put huge data, right? So in general, whenever there is a historical data or a huge data, you need a place like a warehouse where you can put all that information, right? So Redshift is a solution which Amazon provides that is meant for the data warehousing solution. So data warehousing is again a component of business intelligence solution, which all kinds of ELT, extract, load or transform, or you can say ETL technologies, extract, transform, load, all these uses this this solution
Okay.
called as data warehousing solution.
You mean to say for archive data, archive?
Yes. So
Okay.
you can not just the archive, you can say in a way that the historical and a huge data to make it organized in a centralized, very old, or you can say very unlimited data with years long, okay, which needs the processing capabilities like online analytical processing capabilities. We need some kind of a solution like data warehousing which can fetch. So data warehousing is warehouse. So warehouse is nothing but a place where you can put the granular and unlimited data from the long up to 10 years, 20 years kind of a data, right, which you want to process it. So we need a solution for that also. Live data and all, you can go with a regular database and all for the reporting purpose, for the data analysis purpose, or for the business intelligence purpose. there you need a data warehousing solution. So in the easiest way, you can say like data warehousing is nothing but which will support you for the integrated data for reporting, analytical reporting, and ad hoc queries or decision making, and which includes or which involves your data cleaning or data integration. We use this data warehousing solution. So that is one separate solution. It's also one of the database technology only. So what I mean to say is that, as I told you, there are different databases technologies, right, which AWS provides, right? So AWS provides, as I told you, what all databases AWS provides. So just now I have explained. So if you see that in the databases, what all AWS provides are relational database Amazon is providing, non-relational database Amazon is providing, Amazon is providing you what is this we call graph database Amazon is providing, Amazon is providing you what is the other things like which is migration, for the migration purpose also it is providing. Amazon is providing quantum ledger based database Amazon is providing, which is QLDB we say, and key spaces Amazon is providing, time stream Amazon is providing, Neptune is providing for the graph, Elastic Cache Amazon is providing, where they provide in memory and other. These are different databases are there. These all are the regular database. But when it comes to Redshift and other things and all, Amazon Glue and all these things will come under, data warehousing technologies. So all are available. So based on your use cases, you can use these different types of databases. Along with that, Amazon is also providing, I think I already told you, right? Amazon provides migration also, database migration service, which Amazon is giving you as a solution. So all these are the different types of databases which AWS provides for your use cases.
Samir, I have a little query regarding that this database system. Like for example, myself, where I have zero knowledge about DBMS, means I don't have at all any idea, only on the basis one, that what is the structured data knowledge, the part. So how we will come up with database systems? Means, to what extent we need to give support for in AWS for this database?
Okay, so what is the course you are learning now? It is a solution architect associate, correct? So
Correct.
you are not learning or you're not working as a database architect. You are learning as a solution architect. Solution means what? Which can be a database, which can be a network, which can be a server, which can be a Docker, which can be storage, which can be anything, right? So what level you should have a knowledge means you no need to have a knowledge on the programming or writing the queries on the database. That knowledge doesn't require. You just need to know the high level knowledge. Suppose if your application requires the database, how do you integrate that? Where do you put the database in your architecture space? So in a simple way, take an example of construction of a house, right? Now, to construct a house, can I construct without a foundation? Can I construct without a planning? Can I construct without a costing? So everything is in place, right? I need to know the costing, I need to know the budget, I need to plan the manpower, then I need to plan the material, then I need to plan the design, then I need to plan the levels, what need to be done first, what need to be done second. So here, as a solution architect, you really no need to know about each and every database, how to write the queries and all, but you should know how to integrate that database and where how your solution fits with that particular database. That particular part, if you're aware, that is good enough. Okay, but not that you no need to know or how to write and all. Basic idea is that you should know what all database Amazon is providing, whether I'll be able to deploy those databases or not, what kind of a features I have, and what is the easiest solution Amazon is providing, and what kind of a functionalities it will work on the database. That level is enough. creating database, managing, and basic automation, like backups and other things. If you're aware, that's more than enough, which is very pretty much easy. But they'll not expect you to write the queries and coding and all, because for that you should have the database development skills. So that is not required for you. As an architect, you should at least propose them where exactly your database will come into the picture, where you can integrate with the solution. That level, if you're able to do it, that is more than enough. Hopes that answer you my question.
Samir, can you explain once again read replica?
Thank you. Yeah, what is that? Can you repeat the question?
Can you explain once again read replica? In the data?
Read replica. Read replica is nothing but it's a feature of the database, which is nothing but which creates a secondary copy asynchronous way as per your location, which is nothing but a duplicate copy will be created. So whenever your actual database is corrupted or some problem, you can use that database to make it as a master database.
Multiple copies of read replica are maintained, or only single copy?
If you have a single database, you can create only single database read replica. If you have a multiple split databases, you can create a split databases. Depends on what you have created in content.
Samir,
Samir, quick doubt.
databases where exactly saved in AWS? Is it saved in a S3 bucket, or in S3 bucket there are standards, right?
What is that? What is the question? Where it is stored? What is stored?
Databases. Where exactly in AWS these databases will be stored?
Databases, when you launch the database, if you're going with RDS as a service, it is in the EBS volumes, like which you create as an instance in the background. So database as a service, if you're going, Amazon is maintaining in the EBS. You will be just accessing the database.
Okay, it's not going to save in the bucket,
No,
right?
no,
bucket.
no, not in S3. S3 is only for the snapshots.
Okay.
It is same like EC2. Whatever you're doing in EC2, it's the same to same. Rather than you in EC2, what happens is that you can install manually the database. Amazon is also giving everything automated. It is giving you a database as service, which in the background uses the same EC2 technology, same storage technology, like nothing but your EBS and other things, and it is providing you.
Samir, there will be duplicates, right? See, when you say that read replica, okay, there'll be one copy is going to the another instance, and
The second copy will not have the same name, brother. It will be a unique.
No. The read replica is doing one, okay, and they say that automatic backups are going. Correct. So what makes this different between read replica and backups? Both are similar, right?
No. Backups are different. Read replicas are different. Okay. Backups, when you say automated backups, it is the backups. What will happen is that whatever you're doing, the transactional activities, that content is getting backed up. Okay. When it comes to the read replica, it is the primary database copy is getting created. Backups will happen in the regular intervals on the transaction. Read replica is a one-time process. Suppose it is not the automatic, right? Read replica. So what you'll do is that suppose tomorrow you are doing a migration activity. So to let's assume that 10:30 you're trying to start the migration activity. You can create a read replica and keep it for a safer purpose. And in case if there is any problem and all, you can restore it back. But backups are different. Backups are a regular process. Backups will happen on the database files, on the folders what you want to create. Only those things will get regularly backed up. So these are two different things. Database read replica is the complete database. The master database configuration file is there, not the data is there. That it's only for the data. You are going with the database backups.
Okay, great, thank you.
Samir, let's say I have a database which is approximately 20 GB of size, and you said that it is scalable. So what is the assurity when I scale it to 30 from 30 GB to 40 GB, it will not crash?
What is that?
Okay. Let's say I have a database which is of 30 GB. I want to scale it to 40 GB.
It's an auto scaling, right? You're enabling auto scaling or a manual scaling?
Auto scaling.
So which automatically based on the usage, it will increase.
Okay, and how about manual scaling?
Manual scaling means you need to increase whenever so manual scaling means you need to integrate with your CloudWatch monitoring. So whenever you get the alert that, the database is getting full, that time you go and manually increase it.
Okay, what are the chances of getting it like crashing the data or like?
If you forget and the database becomes full, obviously it will crash.
Okay, it's my responsibility. Got it. Thank you.
Samir, what is the difference between a snapshot and a replica?
Snapshot and replication. So replication is, as I told you, right? Snapshots are basically for the volumes which you create, or the each and every volume you create, you can create a snapshots. Replication is combination, means it's the combination of everything, means it's a single set, single file, complete copy will be there. Snapshots, you have an options like, one volume, two volume, based on that you can create the snapshot, but this is complete. And replication is basically expensive than your backup because it's copying. And other than this, replication is used for disaster recovery purpose. You will not use replication for everything, only for DR. Like when you create the replication, you put that replication in another location, so that whenever there is any major problem happens, then only for the quick, getting the outage from the outage, if you want to come out faster, then you go with this replication. And replication is expensive to maintain. Like when it comes to snapshot, let's assume you have 10 database files, which is all 10 databases. If you're putting snapshot, it is too much, right? So what you do, you will only create whatever is important, only those things you will take a snapshot. But when it comes to the replication, it's complete. 10 TB means a 10 TB data will be available. So both are two different use cases. So replications are meant for the disaster recovery and all. Backups and snapshots are low cost when it comes to replication. And you can use for the backups, you can use lower disk and normal disks also you can use. And whenever there is no usage. But when it comes to the implementation, very simple to implement when it comes to the backups and all, and very inexpensive. It is not so expensive, and you can store it in any of the normal drives and all. And you can span between the backups. So all these are the advantages what you get when it comes to the backups and snapshots. So data replication is basically, it's the copy of the data for the purpose of the, as I told you, failover or disaster recovery solution. There, in that purpose only, you go with the replicas. So when it comes to the let's take when you take a database server, there will be read and write activities will happen, right? So when it comes to normal thing, read and write, both activities will happen. When it comes to read replica, it is only read. There is no write option. You can't do a writing. You can only read. A read replica is there, one copy is there. When you can make it right is that when you make it as active, means when you make your primary stopped and make your secondary active, then read and write will happen. Till that time, it is a read, means it is just copying the secondary copies, just whatever you're doing here, the same copy is getting replicated there. But you are not able to do anything because it's just a copy. And if you want to use it, that you cannot put in. If you're putting in the same location, doesn't make sense. Whenever there is any problem and you want to use it, that time you can use this read replica.
Thank you for that answer, Samir. Furthermore, questions with respect to the storage type with DR. You talked about, you haven't talked about cold storage or hot
So there are 5 types. One is provisioned IF, general and purpose, and magnetic. Don't worry about cold and throughput. We generally don't use cold and throughput at all in the databases structure because it is very, very slow. So database requires the faster access. So always we use provisioned IOPS or general purpose.
Okay, it's nothing to do with the cold backups with the DR, because generally we talk in a terminology for the cold backups or
That
hot
is
backups.
that is in your regular terminology, where not in the cloud, right? So that is in general practice what you talk about cold or the hot backups and all. Here by default, whatever you take the backups, that is happens in the background with your SSD drives only.
Okay, thank you.
So Samir, regarding this, so when we are using provision IOPS storage for these databases, so in that scenario, it will be the S3 snapshot will be implemented, right?
You're saying that for snapshot, asking about the normal storage of the storage data.
No, database storage I'm talking about.
And database storage is normal storage, that is your EBS only. Provisioned IOPS, general purpose and magnetic.
Okay.
If you're taking a snapshot, then only that snapshot will be sitting in S3 storage.
And for backup purpose, we need to use any other based
You no need to
do
use
you
in RDS because it's an automated backup. So there it is integrated with AWS. So you no need to do anything manually. You can only do the snapshots manually, but not the backups. Because Amazon is giving you database as a service. It is not database you are not using by yourself, right? It is Amazon is giving you database service. If you are planning to do your own database and you want to maintain as a service, or you want to do it, then you can do whatever you want. But here backups are controlled by Amazon because they are providing you database as service.
if we implement our own backup infrastructure also, that would be a hybrid infrastructure, right?
Yeah, then you no need to go as a DBS service, then go and install in your local server database, and then you can configure it.
Okay.
Samir, what is the best use case for a snapshot? Once the instance is created, having a snapshot created would be a better use case rather than having it created multiple times. This is what I understand. Correct me if the understanding is wrong.
What is that, sir? Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so when we talk about snapshot, it's the best time or the best use case is to create a snapshot when we are creating a database. That's it. No need to create snapshot every other time. It's a replica is the best use.
No. Snapshots are point in time snapshots, and they are volume based snapshots. Okay. And it's all are incremental snapshots. Okay. So whenever you are doing the changes or anything, you need to rerun the snapshot so that your incremental updates have been updated. So let's assume like yesterday you did the snapshot, you took a snapshot. Okay. From yesterday to till today, there might be so many transactions, right? So again, you need to rerun the snapshot when it comes to the, because it only captures the incremental changes.
Okay, so I would rather prefer a snapshot than a replica. This is what the understanding I'm getting.
The replica, it is like this. It is replica. You will only go if there is as a secondary copy for the event of failure, for the disaster recovery purpose. You're putting across the region or some other location just as a copy. In replica, what happens? You cannot do write operations. It is read and write. Snapshot is something for the emergency purpose, for any kind of suddenly something happened, you want to restore back immediately, you can go with the snapshot. Replica will means replica is nothing but if you don't want to use your master database, your master database got corrupted, it is not working, that time you use replica. Okay, snapshot is just to restore it with the same database, whatever it is there, then you can go with the snapshot.
There might be a transaction loss in a snapshot then in that case, right?
That's the reason you should have both snapshots and backups.
Okay.
Can we use Aurora on premises?
Can I use Aurora in on premises is very good question. So this is basically hybrid cloud. So this is on demand request with your AWS. You need to contact Amazon.
Okay. And DynamoDB also.
Yeah. I am understanding. What you're saying is that any product of AWS you want to use in on premises. So that is on demand request. So if Amazon is providing you in your like a package or anything, then yes. Okay, So I think we are good. So again, we'll start the next weekend, the same 10:30. We'll discuss about the next session of your database. So thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Thank you.
Samir, just last question. We are not talking about load balancers, ESB, or
Not yet. It will come. It will come. It will come.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so bye.